And she's laughing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's TokiTV, November the 6th, gathering for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, where we meet each and every week in faith, prayer, and education. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. We have a super special guest with us today. I'm really, really excited to tell you all about Karla, but we're going to do that in a minute. Don't forget the drill. Put your name in the chat. Say hello. We want to know who's with us. We have Aaron and Maria, and we have people on YouTube, and we have Laura and Linda and Sharon and Gloria, and lots of people joining. So put your names, guys. Ola, yes, from Germany, with us every week. Thank you so much, Ola, for being with us each and every week. We'll usually do quick hellos before we get centered, but there's so many people on the screen that could take half the show. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves centered first. So Reverend Tammy, if you don't mind to do the honors of getting us grounded, please.
All right, thank you. Let's just bring attention to our breath and take in a deep breath of life and breathe it in and breathe it out. And as we bring attention to the breath of life, we are reminded that there is a source in the universe that is love, that is light, that is goodness. We just bring ourselves to the awareness of the goodness and the love and the light. We know that divine presence has been called by many names, and we call that name right now. And we reach with our hearts and we open our minds and we address the reality, knowing that we are all one with each other, that we are one with all life forms. We are one with all sentient beings. We are one with everything on this planet and the planet herself. And we know that with our love, we are connected with Toki. We know with our love, we are connected with each other, and we call this movement of life, this movement of freedom, this powerful action, we call it love in action. That things are not going the way that they have in the past. We call this a new movement, a new consciousness, a new life. And we bring only good, only positivity. We bless all of those involved, every single person who is in action, every single person who is educating, every single person who is in prayer, every single person who is affirming, every single person that is in this space in love. We issue our blessings and gratitude. And so, in this moment, in this place, we call this time together perfect and good and joyful and educational, and it's just a pact of love. I call it good with so much gratitude, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Tammy. Get us centered right off the bat. People still joining and putting their where they're watching from in the chat. We're streaming to multiple places today, so it's going to be a little tricky to tell how many are watching. We've got streaming to all kinds of pages today. So anyway, just everyone, thank you for being with us, and just keep the names popping up in the chat, and we will acknowledge each and every person who's with us. Let's say hello to a few people today. Let's start with the talkative Deb Cruz. Deb, how's it going?
It is.
Awesome. Christina, how's it going, Christina?
I'm excited to hear stories about Keiko. As so many, I have a very special place in my heart for him. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah?
Hello, all. I'm the same. Can't wait to hear about Keiko. There's going to be a parallel story here. I just know it. And I'm just holding space with an open heart and an open mind. Thank you, Karla.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alejandro in Florida.
Hello, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Karla, because I need to know more about the Untold Story, Keiko Untold Story. So thank you so much for accepting the invitation, and we have you today here. Thank you.
No, Alejandro, it's the other way around. Thank you for having me here. I'm the one grateful for being here.
Thank you.
So excited. I've had a few conversations with Karla, and I think we're just going to be phone friends because she's just a joy to talk to. Alejandro, thank you so much for putting us together and for Karla to be. Howard, how's it going?
Going well, thank you. And I am just happy to be here and connecting with everyone and hearing more about Keiko. Thank you for being here today, Karla.
Oh, thank you.
And I look forward to more.
Oh, thank you, Howard. Thank you.
Awesome. And Tammy, I know you got us centered, but you want to say hello? How's it going? How are you doing?
Just every time you invite me to do an opening, I feel like I get to be some small part of this most powerful movement. I love you all. I stand in awe, and just blessings to all of you.
Oh, thank you.
For being with us. And so we have Erin and Pam, Wendy, Carmela, Rita's, Jack. The names are coming in. Clara from Florida, Christina, Harvey Lawrence is with us all the time. Thank you. Gloria, just keep the names coming, guys. We'll get them posted up there. Deb's got her work cut out for her today. So we and lots of people joining. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Karla. So Karla Munguia is the ambassador for Keiko, the Untold Story. So much more to her than that, but that is what we are excited to hear about today. So Karla, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. I haven't even started, and I feel like my cheeks are starting to because I'm smiling. I'm so happy to be here today. So hi to everyone. I'm Karla. I'm Mexican. I'm actually in Mexico at the moment. So hi to everyone all over the world. Hi in Germany. I see there's people in Germany. Everywhere where you are, thank you for being here. Can you put the video on for me, please, Annette? Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, Alejandro. Gracias, Alejandro. Reverend Tammy, I love the wait, I'm still giving thanks. Thank you for the beautiful, beautiful prayer. Okay, as I was saying, I'm Karla Munguia. I'm not only ambassador for Keiko. So who's Keiko? Many of you might know who Keiko is if you are Mexican and if you have about 40 to 45 years old, which is almost my age, you'll be very familiar with Keiko. But if you're not familiar with Keiko and you are in Germany, you might know Keiko from the super famous movie Free Willy. who didn't see Free Willy? Raise your hands. No, I can't see you. So we all fell in love with Keiko after the Free Willy movie. It was so touching that it made Keiko the most famous orca in the world. So before I talk more about Keiko's story after Free Willy, I would like to go back in time from when I was 6 years old. That was the first time I met Keiko in Mexico City. And I kind of regret meeting him, but not really now, because now I can give a voice and be the ambassador that I am now. So that you can see how I changed my point of view about having orcas and dolphins and every single creature in captivity. So I was 6 years old, and I remember sitting let me just play the video. Sitting in this kind of, it wasn't a stadium, but it was smaller. And I remember sitting there, and when the trainer said, who wants to feed Keiko? Who wants to give Keiko his fish? I was jumping and screaming, me, and like, please pick me. And they didn't pick me. So I was crying my eyes out because I wasn't picked to give Keiko his fish, which, by the way, was Spanish mackerel. Like, orcas don't eat Spanish mackerel. So, and not even in Iceland. So I was very disappointed that I didn't give Keiko his fish. And I went back with my parents about, I don't know, maybe 4 years later. And I was 10, 11. And I was like, Mom, what's going on with his dorsal fin? Why is his dorsal fin so floppy, And she's like, oh, I don't know. And I didn't realize, little did we knew back then, what was going behind the scenes. Because as an audience, you only see the beautiful part of the show, but you don't see the sad or the awful part of the show. And as a Mexican girl, I was starting to open my eyes to this reality. And when I was 16 or 17, I went back again to see Keiko. And this time I was like, okay, this is so wrong in so many ways. I cannot understand how he can be stuck in this little, I like to call it in Spanish, cubeta. Cubeta is like where you put water to clean your floor in your house. And by the way, when I was 6 years old, I thought to myself, I'm going to be an orca trainer. I said it proudly to my mom. I'm going to be an orca trainer, Mom. And she's like, okay, go for it. And the second time I was hesitating about becoming an orca trainer. And at the third time I was like, okay, I'm not going to train at all an orca or a dolphin. So what can I do if I'm so passionate about animals and wildlife, which is something that I was born with? I've always been in love with our planet. I've always been in every single decision that I've made in my life. Every single one, I think about what the planet needs from me, not what I need from him or her. So I like what I eat, what I wear, how I use the power, everything. So I thought maybe I can become a wildlife filmmaker. What if instead of, if I want to be close to animals and wildlife, I don't have to be a trainer to do that. What if I do so I'm going to be a wildlife filmmaker because I discovered Animal Planet. So how is a Mexican girl gonna go to Africa to film wildlife in Africa if it's like you're supposed in Mexico, you're supposed to get married, have children. So how am I gonna be on Animal Planet? Well, I was very blessed, I think. And in 2006, Animal Planet and Animal Planet and Discovery Networks, they launched an international contest. They were looking for 6 people around the world. 34,000 souls like mine were looking for this opportunity, and I was chosen to be part of the show back in 2006. So the dream was becoming a reality. So for the first time in my life, I flew to the other side of the world. I flew to Europe, and from Europe, we went all the way down to South Africa. It was the longest trip ever of my life. And as soon as we weren't even landing, and I saw this guy coming to me saying, "Are you Karla?" Yes. Oh, please, as soon as we land, please don't move because we're going to start filming you as we get there. I'm like, oh, okay. So we were there for 3 weeks, and those 3 weeks gave me the opportunity to see, you know, when you feel like you arrived to the place where you belong. Have you ever felt that you were like, oh, this is where I was supposed to be? So I know I'm Mexican and I love Mexico, but when I went to Africa and I smelled the smell of Africa that I cannot describe, because it's between, I don't know, but most of that smell is elephant dung, which is really nice. It smells really beautiful. It's like, ooh, elephant dung. So I felt that I was finally where I was supposed to be. And looking through this wilderness, a lion being a lion, a giraffe being a giraffe, a rhino being a rhino was eye-opening to me. I was so more convinced that animals belong in the wild after living this experience. So I filmed rhinos. The show was called On Earth. It was broadcast in 160 countries. It was great. It was the experience of my life. So I went back to Mexico, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do wildlife filming in Mexico. So I was sending my CV everywhere, and no one replied. And I was eager to go back to film wildlife, because in Mexico we have beautiful wildlife, especially in the open sea. I'm also a scuba diver, and I also do some underwater filming. So no one gave me a job. So I contacted Animal Planet and said, please, please, please take me back. I'll do anything. If you can please take me back. And they did took me back. They were gonna test my skills for 3 months. And those 3 months turned to be 3 years. So the images that you're gonna see now, they are all filmed by me, the Mexican lady. And I learned all about every single animal that I had to film, because they were the stars of my life. They were like these cheetahs in Botswana were the best thing ever. I spent about 2 or 3 weeks in Botswana at the Okavango Delta, which was, it's out of this world, that place. No fences, it's beautiful. And you get to see a cheetah being a cheetah, not a cheetah in a zoo going like, oh, what am I going to do today? You know, so seeing wildlife so close and learning so much about them gave me even more argument in my life to fight for animals' rights, because I know what it is, I know how it feels like, and I know how important and valuable it is to keep wildlife in the wild, not training them, not using them for entertaining us, like clowns in circuses. Is like, no, it's a big no in my list. So going back to Keiko, I just wanted to explain to you quickly who am I. I wanted to show you some bits and pieces of the film, because I do want you to go, after we talk about this, I want you all to go and watch the full documentary. But this is the way that orcas are captured, or were captured. This is footage not from Keiko, this isn't Keiko, but this is footage from people capturing orcas in Japan. And the way they did it, it was, as you know, it's kind of a little bit similar to what they do at the cove in Taiji. They go and locate the orcas, they bring them all to shallow waters, then they separate the mother from the calf, and it's like separating a 2-year-old in, and like going back to, sorry, going back to Keiko, I'm gonna leave the screen in black for now. Keiko was captured at age 2 from Iceland. He wasn't Mexican. Many Mexican people always comment on my Facebook, oh, you stole Keiko from us and he was Mexican. I'm like, no, he wasn't Mexican. He was from Iceland. He was torn from his pod and separated from his mother when he was 2 years old. And then he was taken to Marineland in Canada, where he spent some years. And because he was bullied from other orcas, he was being bullied by other orcas. So Marineland was like, oh, who wants Keiko? And Mexico said, we want Keiko. So imagine being an orca, and I'm gonna I want to do some like a parenthesis here. Imagine being an orca born in Iceland. You're 2 years old, swimming with your family, and suddenly someone comes, grabs you, takes you to the other side of the world, to Canada, and then some other orcas that you've never seen before in your life before, they're bullying you, and then they take you again on a plane, okay, all the way down to Mexico, and then from Mexico, I'm gonna stop there because I'm gonna get to Free Willy. Now, I want you people, beautiful audience that is with us now, to please pay attention to what I'm going to play now. I'm going to keep quiet so you can listen to the sounds that I'm going to play. I wasn't going to play this for you, but I thought, you know what? People need to know, and people need to hear this, because this is wrong in many ways. I know I don't have to explain, but I do want to explain that what you heard is the cry of this calf screaming and crying for his or her mother. And I can imagine Toki, I can imagine Corky, Kiska, Shamenk, and all of the other orcas, the many orcas that have been captured and taken away from their families, going through the same thing. So this is heartbreaking, but I think it's worth listening so you can see how smart and how sensitive and how connected they are with their own pod, and how they do know what's happening with them and what they're going through. So they know that they are, and I get the goosebumps, I promise you, I'm getting goosebumps. And I'm trying to hold my tears back. So they do know what's going on. And for us to be doing this is just so inhumane and so cruel and so wrong and so selfish in so many ways. So, okay, going back to Keiko, people, sorry for showing this, but I'm sorry, but not sorry, you know. So Keiko, the water that Keiko is swimming, was swimming in this footage that you see now, the water was from Mexico City. It was tap from the tap city, and it was highly chlorinated. Keiko was swimming in I don't know the in Fahrenheit. I'll try to, if you can help me with this, Annette. It was 26 degrees Celsius higher than it was supposed to be. So he was literally like if you go now from the North Pole and you suddenly come to Cancun in Mexico, it's like the same, you know? And he was underway. I'm going to pause here so you can look. I'm going to go back a little bit. Okay, there we go. So it was 26 Celsius degrees higher than it was supposed to be, because orcas in Iceland, they live in really cold waters. And Keiko was sharing the pool, this small tank, with dolphins that were captured in Cuba. So it sounds like a joke, no? So there's an orca with 2 dolphins in Cancun. I mean, from Cuba. So it's just so wrong, no, to have an orca with dolphins brought from Cuba. Do you know the temperature in Fahrenheit, Annette?
It said so 26 Celsius is 78 degrees.
Oh, okay, 78 degrees. Yes, that's the right number. So not only that, if you see clearly here, this is called peanut head. Peanut head it happens when they are underweight, because it looks like a peanut. So Keiko was 3,000 pounds underweight when he was moved to Oregon. Now, how did Keiko end up in Oregon? That's the question, you might say. So Free Willy was this movie that we all saw when we were kids, and they were looking for an orca to play the role of Willy, and all the aquariums all over the world were like, no, we don't want to give you our orca because you're going to talk bad about the industry, and we don't want to be shown as a bad industry. So everyone was saying no, everyone, except for Reino Ventura in Mexico City. They said, oh yeah, cool, yes, you can come and film in Mexico City. So when they came and saw Keiko, they realized all this, like, he was really lethargic, he wasn't active. This is, oh wait, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm sitting here somewhere in the audience. So look at the size of the tank. So they were like, okay, we need to give him more like quality food, because he was given Spanish mackerel, like I said before. So they started bringing him the proper fish. They eat herring, and they separated the dolphins to another enclosure so they could bring chillers to bring the water to lower temperatures. And what is, I don't know if it's funny or disastrous, but they brought, not for the Free Willy movie, but for Keiko, when they caught him, they brought bags of salt to salinate the water. It's like, and I say to people, it's like trying to making an orca soup, because you're keeping an orca in a water that is from the city with salt that is from the market and in the temperature that is not supposed to be. So you're cooking slowly but surely an orca, right? So anyway, when Warner Brothers left, the world was okay, but what about Keiko? Willy did get the chance to be back in the water, in the ocean, but Keiko didn't. He's still stuck in that tank in Mexico City. So children from all over the world, and I'm showing you some of the drawings from kids from all over the world, were started like a movement, a worldwide movement to bring Keiko back to Iceland. And the other day, someone was asking me, but why didn't you just release Keiko straight to the ocean in Iceland? Why did you have to take him to Oregon? And I think that's a really, really good question. First of all, look at the size of they built. So when Warner Brothers agreed to move Keiko out of Reino Ventura, and Reino Ventura agreed also because they knew that Keiko was deteriorating, his health was really bad, he got the papilloma virus in his skin, they decided, okay, we'll donate Keiko to you. They built this special tank in Oregon, Portland, and I know that many of you might have, I'm sure that many of you went to see him in Oregon. And Annette or Christina or any of Deborah or Howard or people who are watching, what do you see apart from the obvious? Okay, don't just see about the, don't look at the size, don't look at the depth, don't look at the place. What else do you see that is different from his place in Mexico City? Watch carefully, look closely, and see what is different. What
the stadium, and there is no public.
Exactly. They decided, you know what? We're not going to do this nonsense of a stadium so that people can come and see Keiko perform. No, this is a rehabilitation place. We're not going to make him perform and act and do tricks for people. So no stadium at all. No stadium. If you want to go and look for Keiko and see Keiko, there's going to be a mirror, a glass, and then you can see Keiko. Now, Keiko here now is in Oregon. In Mexico City, he couldn't dive at all. He could dive but like barely, and he would touch the bottom of the pool with his tail, and he could only do like 1, 2, and get to the other side of the pool, turn around, and 1, 2, and get to. So imagine being like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. In Oregon, he could go really down, and you'll see him now. This was water filtered from the ocean, straight from the ocean. So no city water, no bags of salt. It's proper sea water. They look at the difference of the place. That's the glass that I was telling you about. Now he could jump properly and breach properly. He was fed with a proper fish, as you can see here. And he gained the 3,000 pounds that he lost in Mexico. So when they saw that, okay, the papilloma virus is gone, his weight is perfect, his health, he's strong. He was suffering from a respiratory illness from when he was in Mexico City. And I'm not a biologist and I'm not a doctor, but every time I go to Mexico City, I get sick because it's one of the most polluted cities in Mexico. There's 22 million people living there. So I'm not sure if he had a respiratory illness because of the place that he was living or because his health started deteriorating from the second he was captured from his family. So I don't know. The fact is that he was sick from the minute he was captured, and he started deteriorating as he was put into different scenarios and places, which was so wrong. Keiko is the most traveled orca in the world. So look how strong he is. He's massive now, and he was ready to move back to Iceland. I want to talk now about the enclosure in Iceland was beautiful. You'll see the images now because they wanted him to be active. Look, he could actually jump and throw his whole body out of the water. This is the islands of Himei in Iceland. This is where he was captured when he was 2. And this is the enclosure, which is like a stadium, football stadium. I'm going to go back so you can see where it is. It's beautiful. So imagine, look at the difference, okay? I want you to keep in your mind the first image of Keiko in this small pool in Mexico City, then this huge tank in Oregon, and now this enclosure in the ocean, the size of a football field with 80 million gallons of water now. It got 8 million, the 8 millions of gallons of water, sorry, in Iceland. So he was brought to this place, and his first winter, everyone was really worried about, will he make it? He's coming from Mexico, and now he's put into this place in Iceland. So they were quite worried about Keiko, but he absolutely loved and enjoyed every second of it, because the waves were making him, like when you go to the gym to build up your muscles, that's what he was doing with water. And he was like nothing. He's like a piece of cake for Keiko. Now, people think, and they have the idea that Keiko was released to the wild and, okay, bye Keiko, have fun, enjoy the ocean again, see you soon. And that wasn't the case at all. Keiko was never free. What Keiko had was the opportunity to go back to the place where he was captured, to feel the ocean again, to see wild orcas again. And he was always, at every single second, he was followed by the people who were looking after him. He was always following a boat that you'll see now. And they weren't feeding him like, you have to do a trick for us to feed you. Not at all. They were throwing the fish to the water so he could come and grab it. And it was a gradual change for Keiko, because we did so much to him without even giving him a warning or preparing him for every single change in his life, that this time they wanted to do it slowly but surely. And yes, Keiko was attached to humans, and no wonder why. He was captured at 2 and taken to humans. So his both were humans. So he had the chance to go back to the ocean while being looked after the humans. And as you can see, he has his tracking device all times. And suddenly he started going, you know what? I'm going to go swim a little bit longer and swim a little bit farther. And he started coming and going. Sometimes he would just go for 3 days and come back to the sea pen that I showed you before. And he did mingle with wild orcas. And we know this for sure because eventually one day, he said, you know what? I'm going to keep swimming. And he kept swimming and swimming and swimming until he got to Norway. And in the process, when they all knew that he was on his way to Norway. So his caretakers, Colin and Topa, they flew to Norway. And the first thing they noticed was that he had teeth marks on his near his face, which is a signal that he tried to mate or socialize, and we're not sure if he accomplished it or not, but he tried at least. And now you see him swimming here in Norway. He decided to stay there. The team decided to stay with Keiko in Norway at this fjord, which is beautiful. Look at the trees and wilderness, not Mexican people clapping at you and screaming and all this nonsense. So now Keiko chose this place and the crew went there. The guys that you see here, this is Topa, this is Colin, and they were with Keiko the whole time from the time he arrived in Norway. And he look at the difference in Keiko now. I want you to see the place. This is the fjords in Norway, beautiful place. And Keiko would come and see Topa, and he would always be attached to humans. But look at this image. To me is horrible. I don't like it at all because if you compare this beautiful one with Keiko preaching in Norway with Topa there, and then this other girl, the Mexican trainer, on top of Keiko is just wrong in many, many ways. So I rather see Keiko in Norway and Iceland and having this beautiful chance to be free again, free, than here performing in Mexico City or here preaching in Norway. So which one would you like the most? I like it. I like the one in Norway a lot better than the one in Mexico City. So I don't want to tell you a lot more, because I want you to go and look at the film. It's beautiful. Please be prepared with some tissues because you're going to cry your eyes out. But you're going to learn a lot. And then you can make your own opinion or decision. What would you rather prefer? Knowing that Keiko was going to die in Mexico City, or knowing that Keiko died in the ocean where he was captured when he was 2? And I definitely go for the second option. I don't know you guys, but I definitely think that giving him 5 years of freedom, 5 years of his home, of his water, of his feeling the ocean again is priceless to me. So I hope you enjoyed it and you go and watch the true story of the Star of Free Willy.
Thank you, Karla. Yeah, we'll put that link up as well in the chat, and then maybe Deb, if we can run that on the banners too at the bottom. There's a couple of websites, and gosh, yeah, people are saying, yeah, glad he was in Norway. Thank you, Karla, first, before we'll get people's reactions, because I definitely have them, and I think they're the same as people I see on the screen. But thank you, because the one thing we do and we talk about all the time is, we gather every week in faith, prayer, and education, because it really is about education. And sometimes that education is hard. Sometimes it's hard to take it in, but it's education, and it's teaching people not just all the wrong things we've done, but some of the right things we've attempted to do. And I know I'll just speak for myself, and then I'll pass to Howard, and we can check in with each person. But for me, watching this, we've seen some of the captures, we've heard the captures. It never gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
It never gets easier to hear that and know that. And I think because we're so connected with these animals, I have tears of happiness for him to be able to. I could just imagine each step was better and better for him, and I know that's what's coming for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. And so I just I feel that the parallels are so present, and I know, and I can't wait for that day. We just talked about this last week with Raynell. We're all going to be standing there holding hands as they dip her back into her home waters. And I just, you asked that question, which would you rather see? That time of freedom. I'm so grateful and thankful that he got that.
Yeah, me too. Me too, Annette. Me too. And I think that the rest of the orcas deserve the same. And I know that Howard is going to talk about that shortly, but I truly believe in the sanctuaries, and I truly believe that after all we've done to them. I see them like we just squeeze the life out of them so wrongly and badly that that's the least we can do for them. And someone just commented that we didn't know I say we, but I wasn't, they didn't know where Keiko's pod was. And it's believed, Annette, that Keiko's pod was also captured and they were sent to different places. And it is believed that Keiko is actually related to Kiska in Marineland, Canada. They are from the same pod. So Kiska, she's been there forever also, and she's been lonely for a long, long time. And to think that Keiko, maybe his cousin or his brother, I don't know, had the chance to feel the ocean again is just is what they deserve, right? So education is the key, and the example of Keiko, I think, is the biggest example that we can show that it can be done. And back then, it was long, long time ago. Now we have better technology, we have better knowledge, so I think it could be done even better. And like I think it was Maria Kipapalopoulos, I saw her comment. You do know where Tokita's spot is.
Yeah.
You are very well aware where they are. So imagine that. I cannot even express it in English. I had to say it in Spanish, but I think it's it would be amazing. It will be, breathtaking and very emotional for them and also us. So knowing what they are, which is the same case with Corky, they are very well aware what Corky's spot is also.
Yeah.
So
and they're strong. You know, I mean, Corky and Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, that the northern residents and the southern residents, and yeah, we know who they are, and Howard definitely knows who they are. I mean, they're the most studied population, and so for them to feel that water, when that storm came in Iceland, and I'm watching that, and I'm like, that must have been actually really cool, because there was some memory of, like, yes, like this is like, I know what this is. And I'm going to shut up now. Howard, I'm going to let you talk.
No, that's okay.
And you start talking about the family and I just lose it because I'm a mom.
It's not, I'm not a mother. I'm not a mother, but I'm very maternal. I channel my motherhood with wildlife. So
yeah.
No.
Howard, what do you want to say, Howard? There we go.
Well, that's all just so important. I'm just so glad you brought out all of this. Everything that you said was just so important. And especially to me, what's important and what is important for us to remember about Toki too, is that when Keiko landed in Iceland, when he was lowered into the water, from the first minute, he was thrilled. He was so happy to be home. I'm sure he had a strong memory of his backyard, like his home, his walk in the woods where he grew up. He felt like, I'm home at last, all this torment, all this torture, all this terrible life that he had to live up to then. And he nearly died in Mexico, as we know.
Yep.
That when he came back to Iceland, and he was much healthier from being in Newport, like you say, but when he came back to Iceland, he was really home, and he showed it. He felt it. His vim and vigor, his strength, his dive times.
Yes.
And from the early reports, I was watching the news every day from the Newport news, and every report I could find was that he had very little interest in his trainers at first. I mean, they had to call him back.
Yes.
And they had to find him because he would be down for 15 minutes and they didn't even know where he was. And they had to keep calling him because he wanted to look around. He wanted to explore. He was calling. He was vocalizing to call out, is anybody here? Are my friends, are my family here? And he actually had a conversation, or at least a little interaction, with a pilot whale from the reports. But he thrived. It was not a shock like people think it would be for Toki. it was refreshing. It was a relief to him to finally be back and be home in Iceland. And I just think that is so important. I'm glad you brought that out.
Yes, yes.
You know, we were very involved in that story, especially in the beginning. In the first images that you showed, a little bit of video, and then you stopped on a frame. The guy in the Levi's and the white T-shirt, that's Ken. That's Ken Balcom. He was down there August 31st and September 1st of 1993. That was the year that Free Willy came out, and he went down there with a group of people to negotiate what to do, because everybody knew. And to their very great credit, the owners of Reino Aventura also knew Keiko needs to go somewhere.
Yeah.
He is not healthy here. He needs a better home. We don't know where, but somebody has to take care of him. He outgrew that pool. You know, it was made for dolphins. He was smaller when he got there, and then he got bigger. So everybody knew, and everybody loved him so much. I mean, you know that, but you know, the people, the children of Mexico City, all just loved him so much, and even the crew of Free Willy. We talked to them. They came up and had a party at our house on San Juan Island, and they told us some stories about him. Like, for instance, the scene in the movie where Free Willy saves the little boy, the little toddler, and puts him back on the side of the pool. That actually happened before the movie was made. There was a caretaker who had brought his 3-year-old son and was distracted working on some kind of problem and didn't watch, and his little boy fell in the water. Nobody saw it. So Keiko picked him up, and what they found was this little boy soaking wet, but you know, breathing on the side of the pool. So Keiko did save his life. So that actually happened. And when they filmed it, they thought they would have to use the animatronic, the robot whale, but they gave it a try with Keiko, and he knew exactly what to do, even though it was just an actor, you know, playing the little boy. But Keiko brought him up and put him on the side of the pool, and that's what is in the movie. It's just a beautiful story. And they told me that he was always watching everything they did. He was so interested in how they were making this movie about him. And so they all fell in love with him. And then when the day came that they had to leave, and they started to, you know, take down all the set and all the cameras and everything, he knew that they were leaving.
Yeah.
And for the first time, he started breaching. He started just, you know, nobody asking him, but he started just jumping out of the water as if to say, "Oh, please don't go."
No, I know.
Because,
Yes.
they all just loved him so much.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it's interesting, just real quick, Howard, on that point, you know, like you said, Karla, just afterwards, it was kind of like, okay, well, there's this great movie where, you know, this whale gets to go live in the ocean, but Keiko didn't, you know? And so I hear that when you say that, and he's like, well, wait, like this can't be over. You know, it's not how that ended in the show. And so thank goodness for everyone who wrote letters and drew pictures, and for the kids, that piece on education. Karla, that's what's so important about what you're doing and sharing this movie with children, because they have such a huge voice. And then Howard, you touched on it too, just with the owners being able to be in this conversation. There's just so many parallels. And as you know, I'm always going to just keep Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut in the forefront of this conversation. There's just so many parallels where people who could make this happen got together to make this happen and have these discussions. And that's what we're waiting on. You know, it's just so many beautiful parallels. And I feel that this was such a huge success story for Keiko, for
Yes.
art, you know, and just his physical well-being and his emotional well-being and his, you know, his spirit.
And what a character, no, Annette and everyone. What he was built with so much character that he endured and was like, okay, I'm going again. Let's do this. No, he was so resilient and so brave and so courageous and so. I just love him. And I didn't tell you this, guys, but we as Mexicans, I remember the day when they were taking him out of Mexico City. I was about probably 18 or 19. I can't remember. But I was looking at the news and I was crying my eyes out because Keiko is leaving. Oh. And I don't recall the broadcaster saying where he was going to. I don't remember. So when he left, and I didn't hear from Keiko again until back, I think it was 2003. I was a journalist in one newspaper in Mexico, and I had some free time, and I was looking to the agency's news coming to the newspaper, AP, Reuters, American Press, and I see this title, Keiko died. I'm like, what? So I opened the news from Reuters, I think it was, or AP, and it said Keiko died in Norway after blah blah blah. And I read the press release, and I remember calling my mother in tears. She's like, "What happened?" Because we were living far from each other. I'm like, "Mom, Keiko died," and I didn't know why he was in Norway. When I read Keiko dies in Norway, I was like, "What? He died in Norway? Why was he in Norway?" So for me as a Mexican to find this film in 2010 when I came back from South Africa, I was looking on Facebook and I saw Keiko, the Untold Story. I decided to contact the producer, which is Teresa de Marest. You might know her, Howard. Teresa and Mark Berman was alive at the moment. Rest in peace, Mark Berman, which is my hero and Keiko's hero. So I contacted them and said, please, let's bring this film to Mexico, because many of us Mexicans, we had no idea what happened to Keiko once he left Reino Ventura. And I would love to bring this story to Mexican kids at schools to raise awareness about keeping wildlife in the wild, and especially with Keiko's example, because we all love Keiko, no? And so and I'm gonna finish here. So from being a 6-year-old girl wanting to be an orca trainer to now be a 45-year-old woman being the ambassador for Keiko, it's like a true honor and a dream come true, because I turned it around in such a better way than going like, no? And then now I'm getting the chance to go to schools in Mexico and I speak to kids. And this is something that I really love and why I focus on kids, because adults are very rude to me and I've had very, very, very bad experiences with adults. But kids, they get it so easily and they understand it. They go like, you don't have to tell me this. I know it. No? It's like, you don't have to tell me that orcas belong in the ocean. It's obvious to me that orcas belong in the ocean. Why are you telling me this? It's so beautiful to see their reactions. In one school here in Mexico, I was given I was screening Keiko's film on every grade. So I was busy with, I think it was junior high school. And when I came out of the room, my photographer said, "Karla, we have a surprise for you." I'm like, "What?" These kids made a song for Keiko. So they were waiting for me, properly singing, and they started singing a song about Keiko. No, guys. I started crying my eyes out. Like, they were making a song about Keiko. So it was like, oh, this is what I love, why I love what I do, no? Be with kids. They are more aware, they're more connected, they're more organic. I don't know, or like, I don't know how to describe children, but they don't need to see orcas in tanks. They are more like happier seeing them in the wild. And as I say, I'm dying to see. I can't wait to see wolves. I love wolves, and I went to a zoo one day. I made a film about a horrible zoo here in Mexico, and they had wolves. And this is a comparison that I like to share with people, or with lions. The wolf that I saw in this zoo was a wolf that was completely lethargic. He was hiding. He wasn't moving. He was just looking. And I was like, this isn't a wolf. A wolf is a wolf, you know. It's like a badass animal. It's like, you know, it's like I'm a wolf. And what I'm seeing here is just like I get it. You look like one physically, but essentially or emotionally, or I don't know how to explain it, you're not a wolf. And the same thing happened in Africa with me. Hearing a lion roaring next to me and making my camera and my tripod shake and the vehicle shake, and I had to cover my ears because it was hurting my ears. And then listening to a lion roaring in the zoo going like, "Boo," I thought he was vomiting. So it's not the same lion. It's like a ghost of a lion, like a hologram of a lion. It's just weird. So that's why I don't go to zoos anymore. I don't go to aquariums anymore. I just want all animals to be free.
And you know, I think something about Toki is that she still has that wild spirit,
Yeah.
that courage, that strength in her. She doesn't have much room.
No.
Hasn't had much room for over 50 years to express it.
Exactly.
But it's in her. It's still in her.
I know.
I'm sure she is still so alert and so responsive to everything that goes on. She is watching everything, and she is in basically very good health. I mean, I know she has this infection, but her stamina, and they even said in the last report that it is her basic fundamental good health that allowed her to survive, that got her through the bad episode. And now she is in, pretty good shape again. So that's her strength. That's her wild strength and stamina. I think, yeah, he
You
can
talk
come
about
right back.
resilience. Yeah, she's so resilient. I mean,
Yes.
she keeps coming back from it, you know, and then there's something else, and she just keeps coming back stronger. And I really believe she knows she's getting close, you know, she knows she's coming home. And so she just keeps coming back, and she just keeps on coming back. Deborah, I want to get your response to Karla's presentation. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing that online, but just wanted to see if you had any words to share.
This Deborah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you.
Karla, it was you are a profoundly beautiful soul.
Oh,
and that when you shared about Africa, having been to Africa, I can relate to that. And I think that's what feeds our spirit to keep advocating and standing up for these animals. And what I've gotten from today and from your sharing is something I think we all get tired. We all get like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to happen? Well, Keiko had 5 weeks, maybe, to live in that tank. And with everything that happened, he got 5 years. That's a miracle. That is a miracle. Just, there's no other way you could call it anything but a miracle, which is what I think the parallel is I'm going to use his story as a reminder when people say, well, you can't do this to her, you can't do that to her. Well, Keiko did it.
Yes.
Keiko was, it sounds horrible to say it. Keiko was almost dead, and Keiko did it. So she can do it.
Yes.
But yes, you're beautiful, and I love you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for your beautiful words. And yes, like you say, we can use Keiko. I use Keiko as an example every single day for my life.
For our life.
You know, like okay, he did it, I can do it too. So he's a true inspiration, not only for us trying to do the same with other orcas, but us as humans. This can be done. This must be done. And someone that I forgot to mention also that is a very important part of the film is Dr. Paul Spong at Orca Lab in Canada. He said the same thing. We just proved that this can be done. So why not giving the same chance to others? So, and as well as Dr. Naomi Rose, she's also part of the film. So it's just, I just want people, I think that my father was asking me yesterday, oh, do you think this is going to be over soon? Do you think that dolphinariums are going to go? I'm like, I hope so. I hope I get to see that. And he asked, so what do we need to do? I said, Father, it's just as simple as don't go and see and buy a ticket. That's all you have to
Don't
do.
buy a ticket.
That's the only thing you have to do, Father. Don't buy a ticket. That's it. And if you want to see wildlife, look at documentaries on Netflix. There are so many from BBC with David Attenborough, Planet Earth, Blue Planet. I mean, I know it's not the same than seeing them, but what you're seeing in these shows is not an orca.
It's what you're saying. It's a ghost of what was for all of them. That's a really good way of putting it. A ghost of who they were.
Yes. And Deborah, and well, I want everyone to know we have a program for kids. We developed a manual so that it's a program for schools, for children. It's a beautiful workbook where you can start, so you can analyze deeper and get deeper into this story so that children can go step by step, following Keiko through every single place and comparing how he was in Mexico City to Oregon, to Iceland, to Norway. So it's a very educational and it strengthens what I'm saying now. No, it gives more knowledge and a more sense about what happened with Keiko. So yeah, it's a very nice tool that we have also for schools.
Thank you. And kids really are, people are, Deb's putting up comments about kids. The education piece is huge because and kids say, you know I know everything. You don't have to tell me everything. Trust me, I have a kid who still says, who still knows everything. But they, but they have to hear it. They still have to hear it. So you're out there being that voice and sharing it with some who might be in families who don't have that knowledge or haven't had that experience to be able to say that. So you're making such a huge difference, Karla. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you guys. I loved every single one of you and I hope to meet you in person. Hug you.
Vanessa, I'm gonna go see Vanessa in Mexico, so we're definitely planning on that one. But Christina, I wanted to check in with you. Christina met or had gone to see Keiko, and so Christina, I know Keiko was dear to your heart. How was this presentation for you?
Yes, Karla, thank you so much. You have such a big heart, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I love hearing stories about Keiko, and I was fortunate to see him a couple of times. I actually got to see him when he first arrived or close to, and you could see like the rash that he had on his skin and everything. And the next time I went to see him, it was absolutely gone. You could see how he was just so much stronger and bigger, and that salt water it just like healed him so quickly, and he was so robust. And my son was involved in the art program for getting him free, and I mean he's just it's so similar to Toki. I see the whole scenario happening with her just like Toki, and it's just amazing. And yes, Keiko, he was so lucky to go home and just feel the waves, like Annette said. Yeah, he was just like, yeah, I'm home.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, Keiko he will always have a very, very special place in my heart. Absolutely. And thank you for everything that you do. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Christina. Thank you. And I'm happy that you got to see him and that you got to see how the papilloma was on his fins and his tail, and you can see it was, and it must have been so painful for him actually, no? Having all this So actually, Free Willy saved him. Free Willy saved Keiko.
Yeah.
Free Willy changed his life forever. So I'm very grateful for this movie and the script writers, because well done. No?
Right. Just from an idea for a show, for a movie, and this like, and now we know it can be done, and we know it's going to be done again next with Toki, and knowing where her family is and all these added things. You were saying, like, his story keeps you going, Karla, and Howard said this in a Zoom really early on in like February or something. Someone asked Howard, how do you keep, you've been fighting for 40 years to, how do you keep going? And Howard simply said, well, she keeps going. So that's kind of been our another one. We have a lot of mottos and a lot of mantras, but that's one of them. She keeps going, so we do too.
We can, yeah.
We will too.
And we must.
Alejandro, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karla, for this amazing conference. Let me tell you that you are an amazing soul walking on Mother Earth. On Mother Earth. Thank you for being the voice of Keiko. And of course, Lolita will get released, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, Toki, and we will meet all together just there for a big celebration with the Lami people, its family, So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to the moon.
Boy, no, Alejandro, you're gonna make me cry. Stop it.
Thank you. Thank
you. I just want to see Toki in the sea, to be honest with you.
Well, you can
stop this because I'm gonna cry.
That's okay. You can come with us. We all cry all the time. You can hang out after the show because we'll cry some more.
I have cried many times like the baby orca. Believe me.
Oof, no,
believe me. Many years ago, I gave up and said, I think it's time for me, to quit, because Lolita Toki will never get released. But just listening to this baby orca, pushed me forward in action. I said, no, they cry as a baby. They are babies. They cry as humans. So should be something that have to open the door of the stadium just to take Lolita back home. And finally, I feel so grateful because Howard introduced me the Lami people in 2018. When Lami Nation came to Florida with Howard, we were over there with Philippe Levin. You remember Howard? And I see, and I feel this is the key, the Lami people. That's why I asking everyone and I encourage everyone to keep supporting the Lami Nation. Trust this process. There is another process. This is the only one. And Lolita, Toki, and her new name, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, she will go back home. We promise her to do this.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you so much.
We love you, Alejandro.
Me too.
Deb Cruz, is there anything you want to say? You good? Okay. All right. I'm going to let Howard close this out with anything else he might want to say, but I just want to remind people to please go watch the show. We scrolled a bunch of different sites. So there's a Facebook page here on Facebook /Keiko Doc. And then there's check out Karla's page as well. I'll put the actual links in the chat as well as soon as we're done here, so you can come back and scroll through those and get those. But go watch this. www.keikotheuntoldstory.com. You can watch this through, I believe it's Prime Video, right, Karla? And also Vimeo. You guys, if you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again, because it is inspiring, and we're going to need these reminders because we're bringing her home really soon. And so again, this is just, we see what's been done. We see what can be done. And Karla, yes, you can come with us to hold hands as that happens, because it's just a beautiful, beautiful day. And then after Howard's closing remarks and yours, Karla, I'm going to play a video that I said we have lots of things that we chant and pray. And you heard it earlier, Karla. I was playing it just for filler before the show. But my friend Susan Clark wrote this song for her out of something that came out of one of our prayer and meditation sessions. So I'm going to close the show with that. You guys keep the comments coming, and I'll keep putting those up during that closing video, and just reminding everyone, stay positive. Don't give up. We will bring her home, and we'll see you next week. And Karla, when the show ends, just hang out for a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Howard.
I love you all.
I love you too, Karla, and I am so happy that you are Keiko's ambassador for the whole world, but especially for the people of Mexico who loved Keiko so much, and that you can bring his story, the rest of his story, to them. I think that is so important and so valuable. And you know, someone said that Keiko's freedom in Iceland and in the North Atlantic was a miracle, and yes, it was a whole series of miracles. Every step along the way was very difficult, with a lot of opposition and problems, but things happened that couldn't have been predicted. I could go over each one, but that sort of pushed him along to the next step, that made it possible and necessary for him to go to Oregon, and then to go to Iceland, and then to go on ocean walks, and then to swim across the Atlantic. And I see the same thing happening with Toki, that a series of miracles. A year ago, nobody could have predicted the things that have happened in the past year. Nobody. They would have said we're crazy. If there's going to be a new owner who is going to be open to the idea that she can go home, and a new nonprofit that is very well funded, and that also that honors the voice of the Lummi people, who are so important, who are so absolutely, you know, a miracle. Again, nobody could have predicted that their voice would be right there at the table and at the poolside. I mean, relating directly, personally, with Toki and with the staff and the crew and the trainers, and making them all understand that she is their relative, that their ancestors are paving the way, are opening the path for her to come home. This is beyond miracle. This is spiritual, and it is unfolding in that way, and I think it will for Toki too. So their stories are so much alike, and so unbelievable. If you don't, if you know, I mean, to look ahead at any point, you wouldn't think that the rest of it could happen, and now we are so close, Toki. So thank you for bringing Keiko's story. That helps us believe in Toki's story.
No, thank you, Howard, and thank you to everyone. I see these comments, and I want to say to everyone that thank you for all the beautiful comments and the love, and it's given me more strength. So thank you to everyone. It's beautiful to have this response. Thank you, Howard. Thank you, the two Deborahs, Christine, Annette, Alejandro. Gracias, Alejandro.
Hashka. In Lami is thank you. Hashka and Lami, thank you.
Thank you, Karla. And just so everyone knows, people are, you know, there's comments. Everyone's really grateful. I have asked Karla to come back. She's welcome to come back anytime she wants. And just been such a joy to have you with us. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And I love each and every one of you. We'll see you Thursday night for our prayer and meditation. And then next Sunday for our Toki TV show, Toki Time, as it was labeled last week. Love you too, Deb.
Thank you, everyone. Lots of love.
Have a great week.
Gracias.
She is whole, she is whole. she belongs, where she belongs. Miles and miles of open ocean now before her. She is swimming to her family. Soon she will be greeted by the familiar sounds of home. Sweet, sweet home. She is home. Where she belongs. She is well, she is whole, she is home. She is well, she is whole, she is home. She is well, she is whole, she is home. Where she belongs.